Hello. So this is part two in Happy, Healthy, and Highly Motivated H3. This is our scientific background, kind of setting the stage of um, basically how everything in our body interacts and we're definitely keeping it, we're just hitting the surface on this one. We're not going to go super in depth um, because that's a lot. Kind of a gradual process of immersing ourselves in this knowledge. We'll get more in depth as more videos come out. But this is kind of a basic understanding, scientific background of how the food we eat impacts us, and then also how we really are right, as above, so below, like a microcosm of the earth and things that are happening around us. Pretty interesting. The similarities, I guess you could say. So here's our background table of contents. You can click any one of these hyperlink slide titles, and it'll take you right to the slide if you ever want to. You're looking at this and need to do that. So nutrients, and again, right, for the guided note's sake, nutrients is the title slide. We're looking at number 7, and our first red word is metabolism. I'll scroll over to the guided notes. Number 7, nutrients. Nutrients are chemical substances required by the human body to maintain. Nutrients are chemical substances required by the human body to maintain metabolism. So you write metabolism in there. What is your metabolism? Basically, all of the chemical processes that are taking place within the body that allow it to function properly. People say your metabolism slows down. I hypothesize that is largely due to all the food, the processed food and chemicals that are being introduced in metabolism that it's never seen before, right? For as long as we have been on this earth, before the introduction of ultra-processed foods, post-World War II, your body has been metabolizing plants and animals. That's it. That's all you're eating. And now, on the occasional baked good, right? You're including your bread, but even those are made simple. Now everything has all these added chemicals, preservatives, antibiotics. How are all these things affecting or infecting us? Nutrients power metabolism. So you have 3 macronutrients, right? 3 big ones. Macro meaning large. Nutrients obviously mean nutrients. Protein, carbohydrates, fats. Okay, those are your macronutrients. Those are what really they're what make us structurally, right? Your skin's made of protein. All of your muscles are made of protein. Like we're giant balls of protein, really. Fat gives us energy. It also serves to protect our organs. Gives us structure, stability in the cell membrane. It's what makes up our cell membrane. Carbohydrates, right, power us, right? We take glucose, which is a simple sugar, only glucose, right? Not fructose, just glucose, simple sugar that is broken down, turned into ATP, and used to power every living thing on Earth. Whoa, all powered off the same stuff. Glucose to ATP, making it happen. Carbohydrates are also part of the cell membrane, serving as both receptors, antennas, and those types of things. So all those 3 macromolecules, they go to these macronutrients, make us, the structure. Our vitamins and minerals and water, right? Those are the other 3. There's 6 total. Vitamins and minerals are what power metabolism. Your metabolism breaks down when you become vitamin deficient. Basically, right, if you had different sex, and what I'm getting at, when you are vitamin deficient, you shut down a whole section of your metabolism. It comes to a grinding halt. It either slows or completely stops. And my hypothesis is when you lose, right, maybe you're low on vitamin A. So now that vitamin A, the metabolic reactions that are powered by vitamin A, which include a lot of immune function, right? So your immune system no longer is humming at the rate it should be. You might allow disease to creep in, toxins to creep up. Your body's no longer metabolizing all those different, whatever it may be, with vitamin A. Okay, so it's very important to keep those vitamins and minerals in ultra-processed food, completely devoid of most of them, right? We take them out and then we spray them back on synthetically, which your body has a hard time absorbing because it's not as easy as the vitamins we get out of fruits or meats or something along those lines that are how they've normally been found for millennia. And then, of course, water. All the metabolic reactions of your metabolism take place in water. Got to have lots of water. Dehydration, right? The slightest bit of dehydration, 1%, is going to impair your cognitive function. Also, your metabolic reactions. Want to drink lots of water. Again, your macronutrients, proteins, carbohydrates, fats. You can see Here is the phospholipid bilayer. This is what our cell membranes look like. Phospholipids, these are phospholipids. It's a bilayer because it's got two layers, bi meaning two, one, two. So here are phospholipids, a phosphate head, two fatty acid tails, and we have amongst them, we have cholesterol. Cholesterol provides structure, stability to the cell membrane. Your body makes it. What cholesterol also does in our skin cells, when UVB from the sun hits cholesterol, it produces a precursor to vitamin D. Vitamin D, we call it vitamin D. It's really a steroid hormone. It does amazing things in the body. Every cell that's been discovered in the human body contains a vitamin D receptor. It's that important. It interacts with every cell. You're vitamin D deficient, you're no longer functioning at optimal, right? So vitamin D is so important, your body figured out a way to make it from sunlight. You're photosynthetic for vitamin D. That right there, right? You have to be vitamin D sufficient, or you got to have your vitamin D levels to optimum. Very important. Get out in the sun as much as possible. Our body's made from the nutrients we eat. You know that. You are what you eat. Your body takes those things, deconstructs them, breaks them down. Right? If you were, let's say, you ate a house, just bear with me here. You eat the house. Your body takes, once you start to digest that, you break it apart in your mouth, start to digest it. Your body takes, okay, here's all the glass, here's all the brick, here's all the mortar. So that's what we're doing with the things we eat, the fats, the proteins, and carbs. We're breaking them down into their smaller parts, their monomers. Proteins become amino acids. Carbohydrates become saccharides, monosaccharides, right? We're breaking apart fat into the glycerol and fatty acids, or whatever it may be, whatever being utilized for. Our micronutrients, well, those are going to contain when we're talking about vitamins, we're talking about our fat-soluble vitamins and our water-soluble vitamins. Our fat-soluble vitamins include A, D, E, and K. All hugely, hugely important for immunity, to keep your immune system functioning, to keep your metabolism functioning, right? Metabolism slows, infection rates go up. Your minerals are more of your trace minerals, things that we need. We need them. They're vital, but we just need very small amounts. Your zinc, your phosphorus, your magnesium, your manganese, the things you see on the periodic table. Those are your trace minerals. These micronutrients power metabolism. Without, when you become deficient in a vitamin or a micronutrient, or micronutrients, a vitamin or mineral, your metabolism slows down. If you do not have enough, your portion of metabolism may shut down. As within, so without, as above, so below, right? And this is just the comparison. We're very similar. I think us and the earth and the world around us. Maybe I'm wrong. But my thought process, the earth is covered in organisms. We're covered in microorganisms. You're not sterile. Never been. Never will be. You live in nature. You're covered in junk. Inside and out. Cells. You got 30 trillion of them. You got tons of bacteria living in and on you. And it's symbiotic. If you keep the bacteria happy with eating lots of fiber, all is good. You don't eat fiber, your bacteria start to eat on your intestinal lining, destroy your epithelial cells, and you end up with leaky gut and all kinds of issues. Not good. Keep your bacteria happy, eat fiber, right? You're full of viruses. How many of us knew that? The human virome, tons of viruses interacting with them, mostly attacking the bacteria or working, interacting. I'm not sure. Are they all attacking, or is there also some synergist, or they're working together, right? But you got tons of stuff in you. Fungi, archaea, protists. You, again, I think you're an ecosystem. What's wrong with this guy? You got 30 trillion, you're made up of 30 trillion cells. And there's certain scientists, researchers, again, question it, look at it. Some say 100 trillion. You have more bacteria in you than human cells, right? So if you got 30 trillion human cells, you got 38 trillion bacteria living in and on you, right? Making up your gut. It's actually the bacteria who make our vitamins usable. If it weren't for the bacteria in our gut, you wouldn't be able to absorb vitamins to power metabolism. Vitally important. Poor bacteria in the gut, poor health. You contain, the estimate for the human virome, 380 trillion viruses. Mind-blowing. 380 trillion viruses in your body right now, right? To think that we can just, right, we wash our hands, like there's not a bunch of stuff floating in the air right now. There's so much going on that we can't even see. We see like this much of the electromagnetic spectrum. There's so much stuff going on that we can't even see. It's interesting to think about. This image right here, this just shows you an example of cell differentiation. All of these cells contain the same DNA, every single one of them. They all originated as a stem cell, or you were a zygote, right? Sperm fertilizes egg, that becomes a zygote, that new cell, that contains all the genetic information you will ever need. And then it starts to divide. And then it differentiates. And what that means is it starts to turn genes off and other genes are left on. Like with a muscle cell, everything else is turned off, hitting light switches. The only switch you leave on, the muscle cell, right? Blood cell, nervous cell, same thing. You're turning off all the other genes and leaving those genes on. Your microbiome, your microbiome or your microbiota is all of the bacteria in and on you. Okay, all the bacteria in and on you. Bacteria cover your body. The bacteria in our gut are known as our gut or intestinal microbiome. And that's what we're going to speak to specifically because of their interactions with our brain, with our mental health, and with our physical health. So the gut bacteria, like we said, they're responsible for the creation of vitamins. They influence our immune system. There's a gut-brain axis, which we're going to talk about, right? All the different things, fend off pathogenic microbes, right? So your good bacteria will actually push out the bad bacteria. They break down our food, reuse them, turn them into usable parts, right? Break down into monomers, deconstruct. They synthesize, they create our vitamins because they're not in a usable form when we get them. It's a bacteria who help to unlock it. Now they protect the epithelial cells of the gut. So your intestines have a thin mucus layer. They should, right? And then your bacteria reside within that mucus layer. What happens when you don't have enough fiber, the bacteria go from protecting your epithelial cells to destroying them, right? So if you're not giving your bacteria something to eat, as in something with lots of fiber, dietary fiber, they'll turn and start eating your mucosal layer, which is the mucous membrane of the intestines. Also, what vitamin is necessary for the mucous membrane in the intestines? Vitamin A. You're vitamin A deficient, even if you are, whatever you are eating, you're vitamin A deficient, they're going to start eventually feasting on your intestines because you're no longer going to be able to produce that mucosal lining, that mucus lining in your intestines. So what's the vitamin A at? They stimulate the immune system, right? They say 78% of our immune system's in our gut. That's because all the stuff we're putting in to protect us. And gut bacteria ring the bell, and the immune system answers. Our biodiversity, like previously, right, said that the bacteria, the good bacteria in your gut can actually push out the bad bacteria, right? So what we're looking for in our intestines is we're looking for biodiversity. We want tons of different bacteria within us, and that's what we get from eating tons of different, really, fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, all of these different things high in fiber. If we eat a huge variety, we increase the biodiversity of our bacteria. And what we know from nature is that when it comes to jungles and forests, those that are biodiverse ecosystems, they are able to survive disasters, right? A bomb's dropped on the forest. Things are burning down, okay? If it's biodiverse, it's going to be there's more likely to be adaptations by some of those species, and they're going to stick around. They're going to survive, and they're going to repopulate and invite others back and bring that jungle forest back to what it was. Comparison: you drop a bomb on your gut microbiome, like an antibiotic, that blows up all the bacteria. If you had incredible biodiversity, right, maybe some of those bacteria survive, repopulate, and help your intestine get better sooner. Or if you've been eating chicken fingers, fries, and ketchup your whole life, and some macaroni and cheese, you're very limited with what you got going on in your gut. And so that antibiotic gets dropped, all those bacteria are gone. Now it's completely dependent on the food you're eating. And if you're not putting good things in your body, you're populating with bad microbes. Again, decreasing biodiversity in the gut increases the risk of health issues. Increased biodiversity, quality health. Do you know the gut and the brain communicate? You ever get those gut feelings? I wonder what those are from. Do you know a lot of ancient cultures call the gut the second brain? Nuts, right? What you eat matters. It is not just a calorie. A calorie is not just a calorie. What a bunch of BS that is, right? And there's going to be tons of peer-reviewed literature that supports a calorie as a calorie. But here's an experiment, and I'm not recommending you do this because I think it would be disastrous. But if you spent every day drinking 2,000 calories of Coca-Cola or you spent every day eating 2,000 calories of a whole foods diet, what do you think? How would that impact health? Would you just, because you're getting the calories you need, would you just continue to chug along perfectly? Or would you see drastic weight gain and some other issues eating one diet versus the other? I wonder, right? A calorie is not just a calorie. Quality matters. What the calorie is made of, what is the biological makeup matters. In biology, right? I taught biology 10 plus years teaching biology. Structure dictates function. Again, structure dictates function. The structure of the things we're eating will dictate the function of those things in our body. When these structures are altered and you get artificial vitamins, right, these synthetic things, these preservatives, your body, the structure might be somewhat altered, so your body's not as good with it, or it's completely foreign to the body and the body doesn't know what to do with it, so it just accumulates and causes issues, i.e. like trans fats. Okay? Your intestines are your second brain. Take care of your gut. Take care of your bacteria. Right? Influences neurotransmitters, stress and anxiety, mood and behavior. Right? Eat food, and then you know what? You're at home, you got nothing to do. Document. How did the food make you feel an hour later? Right? You're eating fast food. It took you on a high, all those dopamine, all that sugar, all that sweetness, because it's chemically made to hit all those taste buds. And then all of a sudden, you drop, right? You burn out, you crash. Physics, equal and opposite reactions, right? Your body's going to match that high with a low because it was an artificial high, okay? The gut and the brain communicate constantly. It's your second brain. You got to take care of it. Serotonin, okay, a neurotransmitter released by the gut bacteria through conversion of tryptophan. You hear about it, right? Eat turkey. It's got lots of tryptophan. It's an amino acid, and your body converts that to serotonin. 90% of the body's supply of serotonin is from the gut. Now, there's questions on whether that crosses the blood-brain barrier and makes it to your brain and influences mood directly with that interaction. Your brain, it's protected, so it's known as a blood-brain barrier. So, right, if your blood ever got something toxic in it, or reached a level of toxicity, it wouldn't just cross the blood-brain barrier and just kill you. It's a protective mechanism. So we're not sure scientifically if that serotonin that's being produced by the gut, how much of it's crossing that blood-brain barrier. Why is that important? Serotonin regulates a number of body functions, including mood. It's believed that it's an important neurotransmitter for regulating mood and make sure, right, you have sustained type of happiness. You know what I mean? Like, so you're not as, right? I feel like a lot of times our mood is kind of like the weather. Sometimes, right, today's happiness could turn into tomorrow's sadness into the next day's joy. Yeah, back and forth, up and down. You just never know. I think serotonin gives us a little more control of that. You might feel a little down when you get up. It's like, I'm going to have a good day today. Or maybe you just have a good day regardless. I feel like that's where, crazy, that's where I'm at. Every day I'm excited to get out and get after it and to try and help. Gut dysbiosis. So this is the beginning of disease. Your gut dysbiosis, once your bacteria in your gut begin to become dysregulated, you're going to have neurotransmitter issues. Right now it's affecting mood, the happiness. And are you putting in food that's devoid of these things? And that's what's causing this? Could be. Dysregulates the immune system. Those with inflammation in the intestines have stronger immune reactions. And I believe that would be relating to myself and my previous anaphylactic peanut allergy prior to cleaning up my diet. I'd been hospitalized 3 times in my 20s. 35 now, I've been hospitalized 3 times in my 20s for anaphylactic peanut reactions. When I was able to lower my level of inflammation, I think I did this with this diet, I was no longer anaphylactic. Still have an allergic reaction. Induces vomiting. Nowhere near as bad as it once was. Okay. Gut dysbiosis alone, right? Next time you eat fast food or ultra processed food, write down your thoughts of anxiety. How does it make you sad? Right? There's a strong correlation between ultra processed food, gut dysbiosis, and anxiety. Eubiosis is the opposite. So our eubiosis is a healthy balance of microbes, diet and supplements, and you can see what impacts our microbes, a lot of things, right? So genetics, what you get from mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, great grandparents, great great grandparents, great 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 grandparents, right? We're talking your genetics come from not just the two people above you, your parents and your grandparents, which we so often do when it comes, oh, it's in my genes, my grandma. No, your genes include everyone in your bloodline since the beginning of time. Maybe they're not as impactful. I can't tell you that. I don't know if anyone can, right? But you are a combination of everything that's come before you. Everything. Interestingly enough, epigenetics means above genetics. So we'll be getting into that, and really that is you're able to turn genes on and off with your diet. Interesting. Exercise, antibiotics, drugs, environment, getting outside early and often does some interesting things to our body. Food processing, right? So food processing really can be mechanical or chemical. Mechanical food processing would just be cutting things up, smashing things, mashing things. You're not adding anything to it. You're not changing the chemical composition of the food. Or chemical food processing, you're adding a chemical. Could be a preservative, could be a dye, an antibiotic, an anti-staling agent, all of those things. Food processing can alter the bioavailability of proteins, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals. The ultra-processed foods more than not strips foods of fat, vitamins, and minerals. Right? For the most part, the carbohydrate's been stripped. So it's only an endosperm, the sugary portion. Unprocessed foods. So unprocessed foods are untouched. Right? They're just as they're intended. Pick up an apple off the tree. That's unprocessed. Once it gets handled by someone, that's a form of processing. Could be minimally processed, right? Could have just been grated, maybe sprayed a wax on it. But ultra-processed, unprocessed food, unprocessed, that's the stuff we get from a garden. I encourage you, think about it. Plant a garden. It's a great activity. Whoever's watching this, if you're a parent, great activity for you and the kids. Teach them to grow their own food. If you're a kid, great activity for you and your parent. Get your parent outside. Get them moving. Get them active. Get them doing that with you. Local farms and farmers markets are a great place to find unprocessed food. Talk to them. Talk about their growing practices, how they do things. Just learn. Learn from them. You'd be surprised. People love to talk about what they're doing. Thank them, because what they're doing is fantastic. Minimally processed foods. They've been altered slightly. Could be a food grade wax. Could be something along those lines. You're not really changing the nutritional content. You're more of, a lot of times we're talking just trying to preserve something as it's shipped across the country. Due to that reason, because you're not sure what's been sprayed on fruits and vegetables at the grocery store, what kind of anything, right? Wash your stuff. I like to put mine big old bowl of cold water. I don't know, tablespoon to a half cup, depending on the size of the bowl. Maybe a quarter cup of white vinegar, and I let them soak for a little bit. And I notice it, my strawberries especially. Do it with strawberries, you'll notice a color change. Really something. The reds are no longer as bright, and then you notice, well, this strawberry is actually pretty rotted, and it was definitely not rotted when I put it in there. So interestingly enough, minimally processed foods are obviously, they're going to be nutrient dense because they're not being altered anyway. And nature packages these awesome little morsels for us full of nutrients. Processed foods, not all processed foods bad, right? Cook eggs. When eggs are processed, applying heat and cooking them, they become more bioavailable. Recent study I read, not recently, it was a couple years ago, but it said that raw eggs you absorb roughly 4 grams of protein from a raw egg, while depending on the size of the egg, you absorb 6 to 8 grams, or the entire thing. Or it was raw, they estimated half the protein would be absorbed because it's not as bioavailable. When it becomes a processed food that you're buying in the store, right, not making yourself, it's probably got added sugars, salt, fat, chemicals, you name it. When you're talking about ultra-processed foods, the stuff at fast food places, it actually been processed 2 or 3 times, so it's had sugar, salt, and fat added to it more often than not 2 to 3 times, because they're cooking it at a factory, right? They're processing it, adding all this junk. They cook it in a factory, deep fry, salt, sugar, frozen, shipped, deep fried again, salted again, right? And it's not the same salt. It's not a high quality salt either. It's full of chemicals as well. Probably more often than not, full of MSG, right? Salt like.